These are the most hilarious unwritten rules in WWE history, starting with the fact that WWE referees literally have the lowest HP. In professional wrestling, referees might be the most inexplicably vulnerable people in the entire industry. These officials are often in decent shape, with some being low-key jacked, yet the moment they take even the slightest bump, they're out cold for what feels like an eternity. It doesn't matter if it's an accidental elbow, a light shove, or just getting grazed by a wrestler's boot. Referees will sell it like they've been hit by a train. They'll collapse to the mat and stay down for several minutes as multiple interferences, chair shots, earthquakes, and all kinds of chaos unfold around them. The most ridiculous part is that this always happens at the most convenient times during the match, usually right before someone needs to hit a low blow or grab a weapon. However, what's even wilder is that the referees will make a miraculous recovery just in time to count the pinfall after all the shenanigans have taken place. It's wrestling's longest-running joke, and fans have been calling it out for years. But while referees are busy being unconscious, there's another unwritten rule that determines who's really going to suffer in hardcore matches. Here's a golden rule that every wrestler learns early in their career. If you're the one setting up a table, you might as well start saying your prayers because you're absolutely going through it. This isn't just coincidence, it's practically wrestling law at this point. The reasoning behind this rule actually makes perfect sense from a safety perspective. When a wrestler sets up the table themselves, they know exactly how it's positioned, whether it's stable, and what kind of landing they're about to take. This way, if something goes wrong with the table, or it doesn't break properly, they can only blame themselves rather than their opponent. You'll notice this pattern in almost every hardcore match throughout WWE history. A heel takes their time meticulously setting up a table, taunting the crowd while doing it, and then, boom, they're the ones getting powerbombed through it moments later. It's become so predictable that every time someone starts arranging furniture at ringside, fans already know what's coming next. The same rule applies to chairs, ladders, and any other weapon, just like Chelsea Green learned the hard way at Money in the Bank 2024. However, some wrestlers have discovered they're completely immune to certain attacks, which brings us to one of WWE's most respected traditions. If there's one rule that's been consistently enforced across decades of pro wrestling, it's this. Attempting to headbutt someone of Samoan heritage is a guaranteed mistake. According to wrestling kayfabe, Samoans possess skulls that are significantly thicker and harder than everyone else's, making them virtually indestructible when someone hits them with a headbutt. This tradition has been passed down through legendary Samoan wrestlers like the Wild Samoans, Rikishi, Roman Reigns, and the Usos. Whenever an opponent foolishly tries to deliver a headbutt, the Samoan wrestler will barely flinch while their attacker stumbles backward, grabbing their own head in agony as if they just ran face first into a brick wall. The Undertaker made this mistake when he tried to headbutt Rikishi during the Royal Rumble, and so did Bray Wyatt when he tried to headbutt Roman Reigns. But speaking of moves that never work, there's one particular superstar who's completely immune to a specific move. Kevin Owens has spent years perfecting one of wrestling's most satisfying counters, and at this point, opponents should know better than to even attempt a superplex on KO. Without fail, whenever someone tries to execute this top rope suplex variation on Owens, he reverses it into his devastating Fisherman Buster. This has happened so consistently throughout Owens' career that it's become a running joke among wrestling fans. Whether he's facing John Cena, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, or Sami Zayn, the result is always the same. What's particularly entertaining about this unwritten rule is watching Owens' opponents continue falling for it. You'd think after seeing it happen dozens of times on WWE television, wrestlers would develop a different strategy for attacking Owens on the top rope. But no, they keep trying the superplex, and Owens keeps making them pay for it. Dean Ambrose and Sami Zayn learned this lesson the hard way when Owens sent them crashing through tables. And so did Cody Rhodes, when Owens hit him with a Fisherman Buster on a ladder. Speaking of ladders, ladder matches are one of the most entertaining match types in the WWE. But if you've ever watched one, you've probably noticed something incredibly frustrating. Nobody ever just rushes up the ladder and grabs the prize. Instead, wrestlers climb at the speed of a turtle, pausing dramatically on every rung while their opponents take forever to recover. This unwritten rule exists purely for entertainment purposes. If wrestlers actually sprinted up ladders the moment they got the chance, ladder matches would end in 30 seconds, and there'd be no time for all those spectacular high-risk moves and crazy spots that fans pay to see. So instead, we get wrestlers climbing halfway up, stopping to look around at the crowd, maybe flexing a bit, and then waiting patiently for their opponent to recover and knock them off. The most maddening examples happen in Money in the Bank matches, where 8 wrestlers are involved. Someone will start climbing, get 3/4 of the way up, have their hand literally inches from the briefcase, and then they'll hang there frozen like a video game character that's glitched out. What's particularly hilarious is when a wrestler finally reaches the top and starts fumbling with the hook, as if they've never unhooked anything in their lives. But at least the competitors in a ladder match are trying to win, unlike wrestlers who make this one critical mistake that costs them everything. WWE wrestlers apparently never learn from their mistakes because they keep taunting before hitting their finishers despite it backfiring 99% of the time. Whether it's Randy Orton pounding the mat for the RKO, Shawn Michaels tuning up the band for sweet chin music, or Drew McIntyre counting down for the Claymore kick, the message is clear. If you showboat before hitting your finisher, you're getting countered. The logic behind this rule actually makes sense, because when you spend 5 seconds doing a dramatic gesture, you're literally telling your opponent exactly what move is coming next and giving them precious time to prepare a counter. It's the wrestling equivalent of announcing your chess move 3 turns in advance. John Cena's attitude adjustment often gets countered when he announces its arrival with the 5-knuckle shuffle. AJ Styles' phenomenal forearm has been reversed countless times because he takes so long setting up in the corner before springboarding. Even legends like The Undertaker occasionally paid the price for taking too much time doing the cutthroat gesture before attempting the tombstone. The most effective finishers in WWE history have always been those hit completely out of nowhere, like a sudden RKO by Orton, a surprise stunner from Austin, or an unexpected spear from Edge. But moving on from finishers, let's discuss the tragedy of the Spanish announce table. If you've watched WWE for any length of time, you've noticed a peculiar pattern. Whenever an announce table is destined to be destroyed during a match, it's always the Spanish table that gets obliterated first. The main English announce table might eventually suffer the same fate, but it's never the first to go. But while some wrestlers are busy destroying furniture, others are using 1000 IQ to dodge high-flying moves. Samoa Joe has built a reputation for being one of wrestling's most intelligent competitors, and nowhere is that more apparent than his signature counter to high-flying offense. Unlike most wrestlers who try to catch diving opponents, Joe uses a much more effective strategy by simply walking away. No elaborate counter, no fancy reversal. Joe simply steps aside and lets his opponent crash and burn into the canvas below. It's simultaneously the most disrespectful and most logical counter in all of professional wrestling. Why should Joe waste energy performing some athletic counter or risk injury trying to catch a 200-pound human missile when he could simply take 2 steps to the left? The move requires 0 effort on his part, while his opponent does all the damage to themselves. At this point, any wrestler attempting a diving attack against Samoa Joe is basically asking to eat the mat. However, there's one WWE legend whose signature celebration is actually a carefully disguised trap that claimed dozens of victims. Stone Cold Steve Austin's Beer Bash celebration became one of the most iconic moments in WWE history, but there's a dark side to accepting a cold one from the Texas Rattlesnake. Over the years, countless wrestlers have fallen into this trap despite watching dozens of others make the same fatal mistake before them. Austin calls someone into the ring, tosses them a beer, and proposes what appears to be a friendly toast. The recipient, despite all logic and reason, cracks open the beer and raises it alongside Stone Cold. Then, in the blink of an eye, Austin kicks them in the gut and delivers a stone-cold stunner as the victim crashes to the mat. This has happened literally hundreds of times over multiple decades, yet wrestlers continue accepting Austin's beer offerings as if they've never watched WWE before. But if you ever find yourself in a WWE ring and Austin offers you a Steve Weiser, maybe just politely decline and save yourself the embarrassment. Speaking of predictable outcomes, there's one golden unwritten rule that determines match results before they even happen. Perhaps the most predictable booking pattern in all of WWE is this simple formula. Whoever stands tall on the final show before a pay-per-view is almost guaranteed to lose when it actually matters. It's become so consistent over the years that hardcore fans now use the go-home show results to accurately predict pay-per-view outcomes days in advance. This rule applies across all types of matches and feuds. Challengers who pin the champion in a tag team match the week before lose the title match at the pay-per-view. Babyfaces who finally gets revenge on the heel during the go-home show end up taking the L at the pay-per-view. The wrestler who stands tall after a brawl on a Monday or Friday night ends up eating the pin on Sunday. At this point, losing on the final show before a big event might actually be the best sign that you're winning when it counts. This rule doesn't just apply to WWE, but to every pro wrestling company in the world. Speaking of companies, check out this video next that explains every pro wrestling company in the world.